All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started. We'll let everybody in as they start filing in. We hope other people aren't having the same issue you had there, Pat. And I thank you again for letting us know about that.
Yeah.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I understand that as a shop owner, there's nothing more valuable that you have than your time, and we don't have an awful lot of it. So I appreciate you taking a little bit of time today and coming to join us. And I promise you that we'll do everything that we can to make sure that we provide the value that you deserve for your time that you're investing today. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with Elite, but just in case there's somebody out there that isn't, I'll just give you a really quick rundown about who we are. We're a business development consulting company that helps automotive shop owners build, grow, and maintain the business of their dreams. And we do all of this by holding true to our guiding principle of never putting money ahead of people. That's very, very important to us, and it's kind of what we focus on with everything that we do. So my name is Matt Lofton. I'm the director of coaching with Elite, and through some of the conversations that we've had with clients and coaches and just internally inside the team over the last couple months, I think a lot of us have experienced a certain slowdown, whether that's been slowdown in car count or just slowdown in general dollars over the last couple months. And we know it's an election year. We know we have some difficult economic times out there. So one of the things that we've identified or heard a lot of people talking about is, is that slowdown in that car count. And so while we were talking about it internally, we like to really focus on the basics in these times. And probably one of the biggest, if I asked a client, on the phone, what their most valuable tool that they have in the building is, you're going to hear a lot of them talk about, they're going to get fired up about their digital oscilloscope or their multimeter or their alignment machine or their really cool Hunter tire equipment that they have. But at the end of the day, our most valuable tool that we have in the entire building is the telephone. And it's one of those tools that kind of gets underutilized and gets forgotten about in the day-to-day processes of fixing cars and getting people in and out of the building. So today we just wanted to put a spotlight on why we believe that phone recordings and telephone processes and procedures are so important, what type of value they have for you and your business, and then maybe inspire you with a few ideas of how you could take a look at those things inside of your own business and make some changes and improvements, and then provide you with some content that maybe helps make that easier for you. So our topic today is going to be reviewing sales calls. So auditing the sales call audit process or incoming phone call audit process, and things that you can implement and do. Try to go through a step-by-step way of how we do that, how we recommend that you do that. And then again, allow you guys an opportunity to go back inside your own store, review your own processes, and figure out a way that you can implement some sort of an audit process that hopefully provides a better experience for your customers and helps you get in a few more of those lost opportunities that we're missing on those incoming phone calls. So the very first step is we implore you to have a process to handle incoming phone calls, right? So we all spend a lot of money in marketing and advertising and branding to try to do one thing, and that's usually to make the phone ring. Most of the time, our advertising and marketing is not driving an in-store visit. It's driving. We first hope to drive a phone call, and then from that phone call, we're hoping to take that customer concern and hopefully provide enough information to them over that phone call to get them to trust us enough to bring their vehicle in and allow us to work our process face to face. So again, the very first step there is let's have a phone process. That phone process is a script of some sort so that the service advisor or customer service representative has some consistency there, that they know. We know how to answer the phone. We know what we're supposed to say, and we know the intended outcome of what that phone call is supposed to be, so that we can, when the phone does ring, we have an opportunity to be successful and deliver that desired result. So we're going to cover a bit of a process here in just a second. the next step really is after we've developed this phone script, we have to train it, right? We can't just write it down or print it out and hand it to everybody and expect it to, start up the next day. We've got to put in a little bit of that sweat equity, bring in the service team, bring in and really sit down and role play that with them, make sure that they understand the script, they understand the outcome, the desired outcome that we're hoping to get. The goal of the phone script is not to make it robotic to where, they hold a sheet of paper in front of them and they recite out. It's to try to take out as many of the variables as possible and, in an incoming call that allows us to get the desired result that we're getting, which is trust and buy-in from the customer and an in-store visit. So again, we can work our in-store process once we get them in. So the phone script is just there to help us achieve that. I think you guys know that if we shoot from the hip when we answer the phone, there's a lot of things that we put in the customer's hands in that scenario. And a lot of those variables, they don't lead us down the path of the desired outcome, right? So if we just answer the phone and we say, "How can I help you?" then we've turned control of the phone call over to the client at that point in time. And we're kind of following the Q&A part where the client's telling us what they need and what they want. And then we're trying to pivot and redirect that into how that works best in our process. So again, that phone script just allows us, it gives us a roadmap for success on the call. It keeps our eyes on the prize as far as what the intended outcome is. I'm less concerned about whether they say the exact wording and more so worried about, are we hitting the high marks of what we're hoping to attain, what we're hoping to achieve with the phone script, which is getting the information that we need from the customer, making sure that we're setting the right expectations. And then the end goal is making sure that we're getting that vehicle in so we have an opportunity to work the vehicle in person. So after that, after we train the process, so we've got a process in place. We have a phone script. We've trained the process and then the phone script to the service staff. Our next step is we have to have a way to audit that process. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how do we audit that phone process? How do we audit those incoming phone calls so that we have an opportunity to coach, train, and improve? Because just because we have a process doesn't mean, and just because we do it doesn't mean that we do it to the best of our ability every time. And it doesn't mean that we get the desired result that we want every single time. So we have to take those opportunities through coachable moments and try to grow the process or grow the individual so that we do get the desired outcome that we're looking for. So again, we want to have a process, we want to train that process, and then we want to audit that process. And that's kind of true for everything that we do in the shop. But today we're going to focus on that, on those phone skills. I'm going to share my screen really quick and we're going to cover. It'll let me. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I have an example of a phone script here. Again, this is just something that that we put together here at Elite. It's a baseline. Don't get caught up in the verbiage. We could argue verbiage. The verbiage is right for you and your shop is what you need to create your script for. The overall intent of a phone script, again, is to try to get some sort of a Q&A format that allows us to get the information that we need, set the right expectation for the customer, and get the desired outcome of either a scheduled appointment or an in-store visit today. So this is and also we'll have this available to all of these documents that we're going over today. We'll have available to you after the fact. We'll send them out in an email. Or if you're a client with Elite, you can go to the client resources section. And I think Sarah's going to post a link to the client resources section in the chat. You will have access to these on our client resources section on the website. So the incoming phone call script, again, This is somebody calling in with either a concern or looking to schedule an appointment. Our goal here is to evaluate what their situation is, try to set the right expectation, and then get them scheduled for an in-store visit. We always, here at Elite, we want to use our shop name, our name, and introduce ourselves. And then I want to get the customer's name as quickly as possible because we want to be able to use that customer name. It's been proven over time that people like to hear their own name, and we want to be on that first name basis to try to develop that relationship as quickly as possible. So we're going to get the name, we're going to ask for the phone number, and then we're going to ask for the vehicle type. And we're asking these basic general questions right out of the gate, again, just so we can get on a Q&A format and we can start getting the basics of the general information that we need right out of the gate so that we know what decision we need to help them, how we can help them the best. If you answer the phone and you say, how can I help you? You haven't established yourself as an expert because you don't know what type of vehicle they have. We don't know what type of concern that they have, and therefore we don't have any information to be able to help them. So I want as much information on the front end as possible. So I have so when they do start telling me what their situation is, we've established that Q&A. We have control of the call, and then we can use our role as an expert to try to give them the right information. So in this document, we also have a little bit of an example role play. Again, I would strongly recommend doing role plays with your advisors or your service staff that are going to be answering the phone. It's the best way to train. I know it's awkward for everybody. Nobody comes in and gets super excited about doing, phone call role plays or sales role plays, but it is important. If we can't make it sound like it's supposed to sound in a sanitary environment where we can stop and start over again, then how do we expect them to be able to do that in the real life environment? And the analogy that I always use with my sales staff is the best baseball player in the world still takes batting practice off of a tee every single day. And so if a guy that makes $100 million and is considered the best at what he does, if he's still taking coaching off of a tee, like a 5-year-old is, and that's still good enough practice for him, then we shouldn't be above doing role plays, and we shouldn't be above, this type of training and this type of exercise. So it's powerful. We're also going to show a way that you can do this. If any of you guys are utilizing AI tools like ChatGPT, we'll try to show some ways that you guys can leverage ChatGPT to do this, so you can have some continual training at the computer whenever they have some time, because there's a way for it to be interactive with them, and they can get some practice in without you having to be involved in it. I know time is the number one constraint that we have to training. So that's just another tool that we can leverage to give ourselves a little bit more time. Before we get going, does anybody have any questions on the sales script? On the incoming call script, about what we're hoping to achieve with an incoming phone call, why we set it up the way that we set it up, and anything about role plays in general? Is everybody out there, are we all doing some form of this at the moment?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to move along. So this is the real meat and potatoes of what we wanted to talk about today. So a lot of us do have an incoming phone call script, right? We train that incoming phone call script. We're probably even doing some role plays from time to time. What we may or may not be doing is, if we're not recording phone calls, and we're not reviewing those recorded phone calls, I strongly suggest that you as an owner or a manager put some form of a process together for you to audit and review calls. So at Elite, we've created a document here that hopefully makes that a little bit easier for you. And it has a scoring sheet there, and then a place for you to have some notes. But again, our goal is, and this is just to give it some sort of a structure to the audit. I will give you what my personal audit process is. It doesn't have to be your audit process. I just want you to leave here and create an audit process for yourself that you implement and that you're going to do on some sort of a routine basis. So the consistency of the audit is more important than just having a sheet of paper saying that we have an audit. So my review is I'm going to come in and review ROs, yesterday's repair orders. I'm going to look for, I call it a non-conforming ticket, which would be a vehicle that I know had a lot of opportunity, and for whatever reason we missed out on that opportunity, right? So I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to find the phone call for that, and I'm going to review that phone call. The other thing that I'm going to do is just review appointments that were scheduled and try to listen to that incoming phone call for appointments that were scheduled, just to see if, and I know that we won the opportunity by scheduling the appointment, but I just want to make sure that I'm getting some feedback of whether we're hitting the highlights that we're supposed to be hitting here, and making sure that that experience is consistent, and and that we're not leaving opportunity on the table. Because I know if the call didn't sound like, so I'm auditing the process and not the outcome, if that makes sense. So the outcome, not that the outcome is not important, but if you listen to any major coach across athletics, right, you're going to hear a similar mantra of, we focus on the play, we focus on the series, we focus on the game. We don't focus on the outcome, right? We focus on doing the right things, practice and preparation. The way that we do it matters more than the outcome that we get out of it. Because if we do it the right way consistently, then you're typically going to get the right outcome. So I know a lot of times it's very difficult when we're in the fray and we're in the moment. We listen to that call, or we listen to that customer walk out the door that just declined a bunch of services, and we get super upset about the fact that we just lost all those opportunities, or vice versa. We see that big thumbs up from the, TechMetrics sends a thing over. It says customer just approved, $9,000 worth of repairs. Well, that doesn't always mean that we did a good job, right? It doesn't always mean that we followed the process correctly. And just because we lost an opportunity doesn't mean that we didn't follow the process correctly. So my goal here is that we're auditing the process, not the outcome.
So about it, if you want, I have the receipt with that thing from SSF. I could do that in the bank.
So as we're going through that and we're auditing the process, again, I really want you to, put the blinders on to what the end result is. If you get the desired end result, that's great. But we're really focusing on what the performance inside of the process was. Did we hit the highlights of the script? And so I'm going to run through this really quick. The scoring system, I like an easy 1, 2, 3 scoring system, just because it takes a lot of the gray area out. If you have a 1 through 5, I don't know what a 2 is, and I don't know what a 4 is, right? How do I explain that to somebody? So we tried to keep this as simple as possible. And the scoring system is 3. We did a great job, right? We hit all the marks that we were supposed to hit. We met or exceeded expectations. 2 is we did okay, right? We met our expectation. We passed. There's probably some coachable moments inside of there, but overall we hit the desired outcome of what the process was. And then a 1, we need some training, right? We didn't perform in the moment. We didn't hit the step. Either we omitted it completely, or in the process of attempting to do it, we didn't achieve what we were hoping to achieve. So so that's what the grading system is. And so as you can see, we go through the call here. Did we greet the customer? Did the advisor greet the customer using the shop name and their own name with good tonality? And so again, I know the last word there is tonality, but it's probably one of the more important topics that we haven't hit on here, because just because you have a great script and you say all the right things, if your advisor doesn't sound like they're excited to pick up the phone and talk to people, you're probably not going to get the desired outcome that you're looking for. So, keep in mind that when we're listening to it, the call has to sound like the call is supposed to sound like. And for people that are vocally challenged like myself, where you have a thick accent or a monotone voice, I tell everybody, and if you picked up the phone and you called my store today and you were talking to one of my service staff, they'll all chuckle if you ask them how Matt answers the phone. But I have to make a big production out of it, because my natural speaking voice is kind of monotone, and I do have that really thick accent. So I have to make a physical change that when I answer the phone, that I go into phone mode, and I make sure that I really focus on my tonality. And that's another important thing about having a good phone script is if you have the phone script memorized and you know exactly what you're supposed to say when you answer the phone, then you can focus on how you're going to say it and not what you're going to say. If you're focusing on what you're going to say, then your tone will always slip because you're gonna fall into what your natural tone is. And if you are somebody that doesn't have great tonality naturally, and you start to think about what you're saying and how you're going to respond to the customer, then your tone is going to slip in that moment. So that's just one other reason that that phone script is super important, and making sure that they have a really good strategy and consistency when they answer the phone. So we're going to listen to that part of it. We're going to subjectively ask ourselves, how did we do in that moment? Did we get the name, phone number? That's subjective, right? They either got it or they didn't. And then the subjectivity there is the tonality that we're going to add to that. The second thing we're going to evaluate is, did we get the customer's name and the customer's phone number? Again, we talked about how important it is to try to develop that relationship as quickly as we can. And here at Elite, we believe in building relationships and not being transactional. And you can't build a relationship with somebody if you don't know their name. So if we go back to, our dating times way back in the day, and you sat down at a first date across from your date, and you're 30 minutes into the date and you can't remember the girl's name, you're probably not getting asked out for a second date, right? So again, if we're developing that relationship, we have to get the name as quickly as we can. I like to get the phone number as well. Again, that's up to you. In this example, we've added that in there. If it's important to you, add it in. If it's not, I just want to make sure, as we switch into this technology world, a lot of us are using VoIP phones, and sometimes a call gets dropped, and I want to make sure that I have that phone number as quickly as I can, so if I need to revert back to it, I can. And then we need to get the vehicle information. So again, we're going to score that. That's cut and dry. It's black and white. Inside of the first 30 seconds, did we achieve those things? Did we get the phone number? Did we get the customer's name? Step number 3 in this audit process example is, did the advisor get the customer's vehicle information? So again, how can I answer their questions about what we can do for them if I don't know if we can work on their vehicle? Some of us may be all makes, all models with no limitations to year. However, some of us probably have a process that says we don't work on vehicles that are pre-OBD2. Some of us may only work on Asian and domestic. Some of us may only be European. If I don't know what type of vehicle they have and I just get into their concern, we may set ourselves up for failure when we get to the in-store visit. So we want to get that vehicle information. The customer concern. What is the problem? What are we helping you with today? So did we get the customer's concern? And then did we acknowledge and reassure them that we can help them with that? So I like a very specific, I want to hear it every single time. I don't care what their issue is. I want to put a rocket ship on the back of my, Ford Explorer. Sure, we can help you out with that. I'm not going to put a rocket ship on the back of their Ford Explorer, but I can help them with that because I know a performance guy down the road that will attempt to do anything you pay him to do. And I can recommend him that way, right? So he doesn't have, by me helping him, it doesn't always have to be a me providing the service for them. Sometimes me helping them is letting them know that I'm not the best option, but we can help them with who is the best option. So our goal is to try to help every single person that answers, that picks up the phone and calls us, because they're calling us because they need help. They want help. Our job is to help them. So I want to reassure them that we can help them regardless of what their issue is, because I want them to think about us as the person to call for help with anything with their vehicle. If they need vehicle insurance, I don't sell vehicle insurance, but I know who does, and I can make a recommendation for them. If they need their vehicle detailed, I don't detail vehicles, but I know who does, and I can help them with that. So regardless of whatever it is, I think it's super important that we acknowledge what their issue is, and that we also acknowledge that we can help them, and that we reassure them that we can help them. And then we take the information that they provided with us, and we do that to the best of our ability. If it's a customer concern, like a noise, a check engine light, whatever it is, We all know that we can't provide any information to them until we've done a professional evaluation of the vehicle. I think we would all agree with that, right? So they're going to call in and say, I have a noise. Can you give me a quote for it? Can you tell me what it is? Whatever that scenario sounds like, we all know that we need to start with a professional evaluation of the vehicle. We need to recreate their concern, and then we need to create and develop a proper testing plan or repair plan based off of our evaluation from that point forward. So the goal is to get the vehicle in, right? So it's a big problem to them. So we need to offer the ability for them to get the vehicle into us. So that's what this consultation offer is. Again, this is an example. You can edit this to whatever your in-store process is, whether that's scheduling it out, scheduling it out for the testing, whatever you call it internally, doesn't matter. I don't want to get hung up on the verbiage, but once they've told us what their problem is, now we need to try to come up with a solution to getting the vehicle to us. And that's what that consultation offer is. Did the advisor attempt to bring the vehicle in? And then the last part of it is, did we schedule an appointment? So we're either going to get one of the two. If it's an immediate concern, again, if it's brakes, and we're coming back to the reason of having this is there's been a lot of chatter and a lot of talk about people being slow and car counts being low potentially. And so if you're at step number 6 and you have a client that's on the other end of the phone and they're asking you for help with a noise, with brakes, a check engine light, and you're trying to schedule them for 2 or 3 weeks out, or a week or two, or a day or two, I would suggest that you rethink that and think about yourself and how you would feel as a customer when you are the customer in other industries. So when you go to the doctor, when you need assistance from a service industry, time does matter, and that problem is always more important to you as the customer than it is whoever the service provider is. So create some sort of a process inside of your incoming phone call that allows some urgency to help them in some way. We're not committing to anything other than bringing them in and having an opportunity to discuss our process in person, is what I would say. So again, we're not committing to doing the testing today, doing a repair today. We're committed to bringing it in and evaluating that they do indeed have this problem, and explaining in person what our process would best be to help them out. In other words, I don't want to get into trying to sell testing over the phone. That's a very difficult proposition a lot of times. And the other part of it is if we get them in the door, the biggest differentiator that a lot of us have is the in-store experience that we've created, right? It's the aesthetics of the store that we put together. It's the uniforms. It's the professional staff that we have. It's the way that we treat and greet people when they show up. And if we miss that opportunity to bring them in the door by trying to do too much over the phone, then regardless of whether they choose to do business with us or not, the comparison is just a phone call, right? Whereas if they leave and they've come to our store, the comparison is physical, right? I showed up, I saw that Pat has this incredible store, incredible location, a great team, and now I go to Jim's, cheap auto repair down the road, and I see that it's dirty, the uniforms aren't professional. The experience is, now when I get a price from them, I can probably understand the gap in pricing a little bit better, right? I can probably understand that maybe paying a professional a testing fee is probably the right thing to do. So again, that consultation offer, very important. If we are fighting car count, I strongly recommend you guys take a look at adding that to your process. Did we get the appointment, right? So if it's something for just an oil change, a state inspection, a routine service, scheduled maintenance, maybe recommended service from a prior visit, and it's something that we can schedule, did we ask for the appointment, right? Did we set an appointment date? So at the end of it, there is a scoring system here, that tells you whether we had a good call, whether we had a call that passed, or whether we had a call that needs coaching. And then we also have some notes down here at the bottom. Every call you're going to have some notes on, right? There's going to be some reason for what I would say is in anything that you score a 2 or below, let's come down here and give some evaluation about why we scored it that way. And that way, when we bring the advisor in, we have an opportunity to coach them through that call. So before we kind of move on, does anybody have any questions about this? We see the value in having an audit process in some way, shape, or form. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, just a quick point. I love the audit. I love the audit guide. My audit process, we have a phone process, but my audit process is shoot from the hip. I listen to it. I hate what I hear. So I try to address that with my manager, and I definitely don't do that with my advisors. But I got to get this in place for my manager. I have to have him have a script of how to audit, because I know that the discussion I have with my advisors when we're talking about this, before you get to step number 7 on making an appointment, they've already been asked 3-4 times, how much will that cost? You know, and they have to come up with an answer. They can't be evasive, and they can't tell them that, you know, you got to get your car in here. And when I hear them sound like robots to do that, I just want to know, what is the consensus on throwing out a what they're going to get at any other shop, a lowball number to get them in? Because I mean, I can ask my advisors right off the bat, hey guys, how much did that customer wind up paying on that diag we did? And they wound up paying $89, say. And it was one that was in here and we just never could find it. And we spent 2 days looking for it, and the tech spent 3 hours on it. So it sounds like we charge $30 an hour,
Right.
you know? So when they ask you our hourly rate, you can't answer them, but you can definitely, you got to tell them something. So what's the consensus on that?
So, and I think you bring up a lot of great points there. I would say my experience in that scenario is if we're having a lot of price shopper type phone calls, there's a couple different things that I want to keep in mind. Is how are we advertising? How are we marketing? Are we inviting those types of phone calls to us? That's number one. And that doesn't mean that call to action advertising is always a bad thing, you know, but if we don't have the intent of, when we don't have a plan to deal with those types of customers when they call in, then we're probably going to fail. So I would say the second thing is I would look at my script, the incoming phone call script that you're getting, and see, are we actually getting control of the phone call right out of the gate, or are we just answering the phone politely and asking them how we can help? Because if I want you to put yourself in the customer's mind, our clients have very little understanding about what the repair process is, right? They just don't know. And they don't know good questions to ask. And that's not their fault. That doesn't mean they're not intelligent. What it means is they know how to ask how much, and they know how to ask how fast, right? And if they've done some research online, they might be empowered to ask other questions because they found some forum that told them it was probably this or probably that, or maybe they stopped by AutoZone and got the printout that says their P0420 is an O2 sensor or whatever it is, right? But I would say 9 times out of 10, when I listen to phone calls where there's a lot of, you know, where we get to price really quickly, we didn't develop that relationship on the front end, and we didn't have a good Q&A format to put us in charge of the call, to allow us to ask the questions and them provide the answer. Because that's why it's so important I want to get their name, I want to get their phone number, I want to get their vehicle information, and I don't want to turn control of the phone call over to them, because they're going to ask me one of the 2 questions that they know how to ask, and it's always price and availability, right? So once I'm in control of the call and I'm doing Q&A, then I'm asking them, how can I help them at the end of that? And very rarely are we getting to price at that point in time. So if we are getting to price and we're dealing with price a lot, then I would say you need to have a conversation with your team about developing a strategy around this consultation offer, because I can have a 15-minute conversation about what our process is at no charge, right? Bring it in, let me evaluate what your concern is, and let's have a conversation about how we can best be of service. So it's free. There's no charge to that, right? We're bringing a customer in the store so they get an opportunity to experience our in-store product, and we have a better opportunity then to know how we can really assist them, because a lot of times the information that they're providing us over the phone, not that they're lying to us, but they're just ill-informed, and it may not be the right information. So if I create a strategy that says I'm going to have this consultation offer, and every single time somebody asks me how much something is, I say, hey, I've got a great news for you. It's free and I can get to it right now. Right? You can't what objection do we have to free and now? There are none. And so if you deal with that difficult customer, one out of every 50 is going to be continuously aggressively asking for a price over the phone. I know it needs this. I don't need a consultation. I just need a price. Then my conversation is going to be, listen, is our plan to pick up the phone and call 10 places today and find out who's going to be able to perform this repair for the least amount? And if the answer to their question is yes, then I say, awesome. Let me save you a lot of time. I'm here to help you. And from what you're telling me, the best way that I can help you is to tell you who's going to give you the lowest price. And have a guy in town that gives the lowest price and send them that way. And I will tell you what happened to me. That guy picked up the phone and begged me never to send anybody over to him again. And I said, I would love to. Raise your price. They asked me who the cheapest guy is in town. You're the cheapest guy in town. I'm not trying to derail you. I'm being honest with them. So, that does that answer your question on price shoppers and how we handle that?
Yeah, sure. I just want to be able to audit for that. And I see what you're saying on the consultation offer.
Yeah, and I think it comes right back to just, making sure that you have a phone script that gives you the best opportunity to eliminate price shoppers, as best as possible by getting in control of the call. And then if you're still going to have a lot of price shoppers, maybe you're doing call to action advertising, which is going to be price sensitive. Then having a strategy that, not deflects it completely, but the answer is we would love to have an opportunity to talk to you about that in person. Can you come in? And we, from there, we'd be able to follow our process to give you an accurate estimate. I know we're getting pretty close to the top of the hour here, guys. Does anybody else have any questions, anything else they would like to add? Gary, I know you work through this in your store and with your clients. Do you have a particular process as far as auditing? You have a timeline you like to recommend?
Timeline as far as?
In other words, like how often you perform your audit process, or
So we normally our routine is about bi-weekly. So every other week, and do a very, very similar thing to this. I have it in a spreadsheet, and you mark it 1, 2, 3, and then it adds it up at the end and gives a score. I like a few of your questions, though. I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. I like a few things you have there, and then the bottom section, there's a couple of things that I pulled off of there as well, but do a very, very, very similar thing.
I appreciate that, Gary. And so, just to kind of piggyback on what Gary said there, and when we do the audit, I don't want you guys to audit your people to death. Don't audit every phone call. You're not going to continue to do that. The consistency of doing 1 or 2 phone call audits, a day or a week, whatever version of repetition you feel like you can stick with, is going to be more impactful over time than you doing this large audit campaign of listening to every call and writing up a bunch of notes and handing it to your advisor. They're going to be overwhelmed with all of that. And then the other thing is I know we haven't talked about it. We've talked about coachable moments, but make sure you celebrate, wins too. If you happen to audit a good call, don't overlook it just because you didn't get to beat them up. that's one you need to make sure you highlight to them and send to them and tell them what a great job they did as well. So, look for opportunities to share victories and not just opportunities to coach them up.
I think the consistency part too, Matt, is important because I learned years ago that if you fly in, you do a big audit, you get on them, they feel like they were pounded, and then the audits go away until you swoop in and do it again. But if you just have this routine, this trickle, and it's constant coaching and constant review, then it's just kind of what we do, and then it's received better by them. I feel like I've noticed.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And by the consistency of it, you're going to cover, you're going to find areas where they've missed opportunities in each one of these sections, right, over time. So you're going to continuously be coaching through that, and they're going to find out what's important to you versus just sitting down and having a conversation with them. And I know that's one of the challenges that we've all had as owners, managers, and then in our role as coaching clients through this process is that, well, I told them what I wanted, right? I told them how to do it. I gave them a process. What more do they want from me, right? But they really do need that. If you think you're going to sit down and have a 1 hour meeting with an employee, and at the end of that meeting, they're going to be able to do everything you said in that meeting, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and you're setting them up for failure. So, as we talk about this a lot at Elite, on the coaching side of it, which is, our job is to try to help shop owners understand what their job description is and what their role is. And your role is to create a vision, implement a system that helps the team get to that vision, hire the best team possible to achieve the vision, and then to audit the process, right? Consistently audit the process to make sure that we maintain the standard. And so this is one of those processes that I feel like we all make internal excuses for, as far as we don't have time to do it. And so, but there's nothing more important. You're spending a lot of your money to try to make that phone ring. And if the phone is ringing and we're not handling it correctly, then it's going to impact everything else. We're going to bring in the wrong customers. We're going to first come, first serve schedule, right? You're going to have 27 oil changes on the schedule for this week. We're going to miss those customer concern issues. Again, we get back to number 6 on this step. If I have a squealing noise in my brakes, the biggest concern is getting it fixed as soon as possible, right? Because it's a big concern to me. And if I'm just, running through the schedule process, not really having a script, not understanding what my intended goal is for that particular call, I'm going to tell them my schedule is full. I can get you in 2 to 3 days from now, and they're going to pick up the phone and find somebody that can take me in right now. So again, making sure that you have a process, that you have a script, that everybody understands what our goal is. And our goal is always to turn that phone call into an in-store visit. However you want to turn it into an in-store visit, it's up to you and your internal process, but that's the goal. I can't fix a single car over the phone. I don't know if you guys have figured out a way to do it. If you did, let me know. It'll save us all a lot of time and effort, but I'm not good at it. So if we want to fix the car, we have to get the car into our facility. And then if we want to sell our value and we want to sell our process, you can't sell it over the phone. I'm a strong believer in that. They have to see the difference. If you are calling around to hotels and you are calling a 5-star hotel and you are calling Holiday Inn Express, there would probably be some difference of the way it sounds over the phone, I'm sure. However, if all you did was ask for price and you never saw either one of those locations in person, there's no way you would ever say yes to the 5-star location. You just wouldn't do it, because they're going to tell you it's $550 a night. You're like, my God, $550 a night to go to sleep? No, I'll do the $115 a night. But if you showed up in person and you saw the door person came and opened the door, and somebody was meeting you right then and there, asking you, finding out whether you had whether you were visiting us today for a stay or whatever it was, and you saw their process, you saw the amenities that they had waiting for you when you got there, you got to see the facility, you can come up with that $400 gap and why we would be willing to pay $550 to stay somewhere. So you guys need to think about that in your own business as well, because there's no phone procedure, no phone script you're going to put together that's going to show that gap a lot of times between what the economy version of your competition is versus what you are, hopefully, in your area, which is that value quality. And so we have to get them in the door to be able to do that. So I'll open it up for questions and comments. I'd love to hear from everybody. Before we head out, does anybody have anything they would like to add to it? Glenn, I see you thinking about it. I know you want to say something. You're
There.
what was
Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, we can hear you.
No, I think you pretty well covered everything.
Okay.
It's
Awesome.
good information.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that took the time to come out. Like I said, I understand that we all have a premium on our time, and I was researching this yesterday for another presentation that we're doing later on this year, but there's 218,000 repair shops in America as of the census of 2023. And so you guys are a very small percentage of ones that are out there trying to make a better environment for your team, make a better life for your family, and provide a better experience for your clients by coming to these types of events and making time for it. So I commend you guys for being here. I appreciate your time. We will send out an email that has these documents. Again, if you are an Elite client, go to your client resources section on the Elite Worldwide website. You're going to find these documents listed in there as well, and then a bunch of other documents. And we're putting out new content pretty rapidly right now. So if you haven't been in a while, please log in and go. And yeah, but we're excited that you guys came and joined us today. I appreciate the participation from everybody. And by all means, if there's ever anything that we can help you out with, if you're struggling with any area of the business, doesn't matter what it is, please reach out to us. Again, our number one goal is to help people, help shop owners get out of that cycle, live a better life, provide a better experience for their internal team, a better experience for their clients, and achieve the goals that they have for themselves. So if there's a way that we can do that, please reach out to us. Let us know. We'd be happy to help out in any way possible.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great day. And again, if we can ever be of value to you, please reach out and let us know.
Will do.